Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. I am so glad that you're here. Today, I'm going to teach you how to use your die cuts to make a birthday card in a very unique way. We're not only going to make a pocket in this card, but we're also going to create a buckle for it, and it's a brand new way of doing this, and I can't wait to share it with you. I'm using an adorable monkey stamp set today, but don't worry, I've got several other samples to share with you, both with florals and daisies and all kinds of gorgeous designer series papers. Now, a couple things before we get started. This is a YouTube premiere, and today is Monday. It is May 15th. The year is 2023. I had a glance at the calendar. The year is already going by so quickly. So whether you're here watching during the premiere and chatting with us live, I'm here with you, or perhaps you're watching the replay. I'm so glad that you're here. Make sure you know all about the project sheet. I have a free project sheet linked down in the video description below for you. It's going to navigate you over to the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and the supplies for all the cards I'm going to share with you today, not just the one I'm demonstrating. I also want to take a minute to introduce you to Grace Hudson. You'll see Grace's name in blue off to the side. Grace is filling in for my daughter Gina, who is on maternity leave, and Grace is doing our moderating. She's also a member here at Lisa's Stamp Studio and filling in Gina's absence. Grace is here to answer your questions and provide links for you. But please keep in mind that if something doesn't get answered, you can always contact me through my website at lisastampstudio.com. Now, in order to chat or comment here on YouTube, they require you to log into your YouTube account, which uses your Gmail address. So go ahead and do that. We would love to interact with you live. I'm here right with you now. All right, I think we're ready. Let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm going to move those buttons out of the way, and I'm going to start with a piece of, ooh, don't you love this, lemon lime twist cardstock. And I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer because we are going to do a little bit of scoring. My paper trimmer is my most beloved tool here in the studio next to my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. But I love this trimmer for so many reasons. There's a scoring and a cutting blade that stay right here on the track. They navigate up and down out of the way, which means you never have to remove them. And that clear track is a champ for all kinds of diagonal cuts and for those little tiny margin areas. And you're going to get to see that tonight. Now we have two very simple score lines for this card. This first one is going to be at 4 1/4. Now you might look at this thinking, wow, that's big. It is. The base is 5 1/2 by 11. Please keep in mind that all the cutting dimensions, including the layers, are going to be in that project sheet for you, not just for this card, but all of them. So we're going to line this up at 4 1/4. You're going to see that nice straight ledge here at the top. Love it. There's one at the bottom. I can't do anything straight, so I have to have that. And then we'll score. Now we're going to do one more at 8 1/2 inches. And don't you love how that arm extends just past 17 inches? So if you're a scrapbooker, I got you all covered there. And then we're going to go 8 1/2 inches, and then we are going to score. All right. Now there's one more piece. I'm just going to collapse this. And there's a little tiny tab. This is 1 inch by 3 inch. And I'm just going to score a 1/2 inch on one side. So I'm going to hold the paper here, and there's some score lines here. So about 1.5 inches, which is great. So you have a little bit more to hold on to. Again, I'm using that straight edge here at the top to help me, and I'll score. Now we're going to come back to this. I'm going to start by working on the card base itself. So you're going to see that one score line is here, and I'm grabbing my bone folder, and we're going to fold up on that. This is a good time to make sure that those edges are nice and even, and we're going to reinforce that score line with the bone folder. We're going to do the exact same thing here as well, and then we're going to reinforce that. Now this is the actual base of the card, and I have a couple variations for you that I think you're really going to like. This is where we're going to do our building. Now the very first thing that is unique about this is how we are going to die cut the front on this. And for this, I am using the Basic Borders dies. Now I did pull one out before you joined me, and that's the one I'm choosing to use on this specific card. But get creative. You're going to be able to love all the different openings that you can create. This is going to die cut a rounded section here on the front of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open all this up. I wanted those score lines to be very predominant so you can see them. And I'm turning it horizontally to make it easier for me visually. And I'm looking on where this is going to need to go. I can see that I want the die a little bit off the edges on both sides, so I can try to find the center. Now, if you're like me, there is absolutely no way that's going to stay in place when you go to die cut it. So I want to talk to you about this. This is the Post-it labeling and cover-up tape. I cannot live without this stuff. I like to tear it lengthwise when I'm using these kind of dies. And we're going to tack that in place. So once again, I'm just looking here and here to try to make them symmetrical. And we are going to tack this down. Now, once this is all tacked down and I'm happy with the placement, all you have to do now is add it to both sides of your cutting mats, and let's go ahead and die cut that. Now, I've just done that off camera for you, and I do like to save this tape because I found that I can use it over and over again. And you can leave it on the handle of your die cutting machine, or of course you can add it right back here to the dispenser so that it's easy for you to grab. And just like any other Post-it note product, you should be able to remove that with no problem, even with the compression of the rollers in your die cutting machine. All right, now I'm going to remove that die, and then you're going to see here that this excess at the top we're not going to need. But look at that beautiful curved edge here, which really makes it interesting, and I can't wait to share the others. So again, this is going to go in like this. Now we want to create the buckle for this card. So let me show you what we're going to do next. I'm going to bring back my trimmer once again just to score this. This is 1 1/4 inch by 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to score it at the 1/2 inch mark on one end. I like to hold it here. That's going to give me a lot more space on this side, and then I'm just going to score. Okay, now that we have that, what I want to do is I want to reinforce that score line so that you can see it a little bit better with my bone folder. We're going to bring in a circle die, and this comes from one of my very favorite die sets. This is called Stylish Shapes, of course, graduating sizes, so this is the 3rd smallest one, and of course, different shapes, which makes it really versatile. You're going to keep the score line at the bottom, and you're going to slip the top part of this through the circle so that the die will land like this. Now, you might be wondering why. That's because we don't want to die cut a circle from this. So we want it not to die cut, so we're going to put the paper over the bottom portion of the die. I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to maneuver this piece so that I can have an even circumference of the open inside areas of the circle. So I'm looking here and here, and once I'm happy with it, I'm going to go back right here to that Post-it labeling and cover-up tape, and I'm going to anchor this down because I don't want this to move, and then we're going to die cut this one more time. I've just removed the tape, and that has now left us with this. Now this is going to need to be attached to here. Now originally I thought it could go to the back, but that's kind of obtrusive, isn't it, even though it matches? So I want to take this a step further and give you another idea. We're going to bring back in the trimmer, and this time we are going to work with the actual cutting blade, which is the dark blade. I'm going to navigate it to the top so it's out of the way. I'm going to open up what's going to be the pocket size so that it's flat. We are going to navigate this so that that score line is going to fall literally right down inside that black strip, which is the cutting area. Once you have it aligned, we want a 1 1/4 inch slit. And the beauty is you can make this slit wherever you want. So if you want the buckle high or low, you can navigate that change. So I'm going to line this up at the 2 1/4 inch mark. So I'm literally holding up the guide and I'm navigating the blade down to 2 1/4 inch. Now there's a little indicator on the blade, which I know you cannot see here in the video, but it's going to align it to the spot on the trimmer that I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop that down, and I'm going to cut down 1 1/4 inch, which is actually going to take me to the 3 1/2 inch mark. And I'm just going to cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the trimmer, and I want to show you here that we have the little slit where we can add the buckle. Nice and easy. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of stamping here on the front because I want to create a background. I brought in some scrap grid paper here, and I'm going to open up the front of the card flat. Now you should be able to see the beautiful stitching here, so that's how you know the top from the bottom. And I'm going to use this adorable little monkey stamp set. It's fantastic, isn't it? Now this is also offered as a bundle with the coordinating little monkey builder punch. But it's going to punch out lots of pieces. In addition to that, the punch will create punch art, which means you don't have to do any stamping unless you want to add the face. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some stamping for the background. And this is the beauty of Stampin' Up! Products, is the color coordination. So I'm using the coordinating Lemon Lime Twist ink pad to the cardstock. And from that stamp set, I've gone out and I've pulled out 2 of the images that look like vines. Now this is super easy to do. I do not want you to overthink this. I'm going to turn this slightly to make it easier for my hand. I'm going to ink up this image, and I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side. And I'm starting at the top, and then you can navigate this. And with photopolymer, it makes it pretty easy to connect it. Now I'm doing my best to keep my head out of your camera view, so forgive me if this isn't perfect. And I'm just going to gravitate my way all the way down. Now you can switch back and forth, which is the beauty of this, which gives it a little bit of realism, so it makes it look like it's actually moving. I'm going to skip now over, and I'm going to do another section here. I don't want those to go in the same direction, so I'm going to stamp. And we are going to repeat this process just across the area here at the top. Now, how many vines you make is entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way. Typically, I like odd numbers, so I'm actually going to make one more after this. And this time, I think what I'm going to do is make this one just a little bit shorter than that one. You see how I've got to skip here? Okay, we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to give you some ideas. We're going to come back to this one, and let's do one more here. And then we're going to do some connecting. So I'm just going to work my way down and up. Got another one there. This is what happens when you get to be my age and you don't want your head in the camera view. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch back and forth to these. And then this one I'm going to work a little bit longer, I think, because the one in the center is a little bit shorter. Okay, now if this is bugging you, again, I'm going to give you some ideas. I'm going to go ahead and clean those off camera. Let me close this up because we are finished with it. And the next thing we're going to do is just a little bit more stamping, and that is here on the buckle itself. Now this time I'm going to use this area for the greeting, which I know seems kind of weird, but it works out so great for this card. Keep in mind the other samples I'm going to share with you are going to give you other options. All from the same stamp set. I'm going to use that black Memento ink pad, and we're going to ink that up. That is photopolymer ink. And I am going to stamp that here. We want it to the left side of that score line. So lots of firm, even pressure, and then a lift. And then I'm going to show you how to put this together in just a few minutes. I'm going to bring in some scrap white cardstock here, and this is where we're going to do our images. So that stamp set includes an adorable branch, and I decided I wanted 2 of these for this card. Now, the one thing I love about doing these YouTube events with you is that I can teach you and give you tons of tips for your card making. And I like to provide lots of variations for you, which is why I give you other samples as well. So keep in mind, if this is too detailed for you, you can simplify it. And those monkey images, oh my goodness, they are so cute. And I'm cleaning those stamps in between using them. I hate putting away a dirty stamp, and that's a great practice to get into. And then we've got one more here. And then we're going to do a couple others. Now there's some leaves in there of different shapes and sizes, and I decided to use this one. I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And then I also want one of these adorable little bananas, because what is a monkey without a banana, right? So we've got one of those there. But I also want some of the bananas that fit inside the builder punch. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip about the builder punch. Oftentimes when we look at these punches and they contain multiple shapes on one punch, which by the way is a great cost saving thing because this is like 4 punches in one, we have difficulty getting the images to line up when we get them in the punch, which means we have to maneuver the paper a lot. If you're going to use just a small section like I am for the banana, just cut yourself a small strip so that you're not punching a whole bunch of scrap. The other thing I like to do is teach you how to make a template for this, which will aid you with the stamping positioning. Let me show you what I mean. This is a 3 by 3 inch piece of scrap white cardstock. I'm going to slide it in through the top, and I'm looking just to kind of center it from side to side, and we're going to punch. Now these little pieces I don't need because my whole intention here is to make a template. Now you can save those pieces for another card, but I'm going to come in with my craft pencil, and I'm going to write the word top with a little arrow. This now I'm actually going to keep inside my stamp set so that when I go to stamp the images, I know which way they have to go in order to fit the punch properly. So you can see the banana is going to have to go like this. So I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to skip all the way over, and I'll do another one over here because we're going to be able to punch those out. I'm going to go ahead and cover this up. We're done with our stamping, and I'm not going to color all these in front of you. I have them done, but again, you're going to keep that right inside your stamp set. That makes it quick and easy for you to reference. Now, let's just assume for just a minute that I've colored them. We're just going to save some time here in the video, but let's talk about the punching. That small strip is going to allow you to navigate this very, very easily. So I'm just going to turn it and I'm going to align it. Now, one of the things that most people don't know about these punches is that you can lightly squeeze it, which will lock in the image, which means it won't slip and slide on you. And then when you're ready, go ahead and just punch out your image. Now, I did that for both of the bananas, obviously, once they were colored. And I'm just going to move those off screen, and I'm going to come back to here. I'm not going to do a whole lot of coloring with you, like I said, that they're done, but I want to talk you through the monkey because I'm going to get a lot of questions about this. Those cute little ears were screaming at me that it needed a light pink. So this is the light petal pink Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers, and I actually put that right inside the ears. Now these markers come in a combo pack, which means you're going to get both the light and the dark. There's no right or wrong, that's just a shade that I preferred. For the face, I am using the ivory marker. Now this comes in a combination with the bronze, and I use that for the face. Now I'm going to use just small circular motions here. And again, I'm not going to color the whole monkey. I just want to give you an idea of how the face is going to look with the actual body itself. Sometimes you tell me that you do not like coloring these outline images and doing a lot of shading because these areas are very narrow, and I totally get you. So this is where you're going to pull in those deep natural tone markers. This is the darkest one. And all I did was I did a little bit of swirling motion with that chisel tip, and I colored in the body of this monkey. But I'm going to come in here closer to the head, and of course I'm not being really careful because I have one already done. But I want to show you how cute this is without having to do any shading. Look at that. Isn't that great? Now I went ahead and I did that with all of my images, and I do love to color. I find it very therapeutic. So we have our monkeys here, and then I'm going to pull out the other images as well. So we've got some branches, we've got our leaves, our little banana, and then let me use my take your pick tool and I'll pull the rest of these out because they're kind of small. There we go. I love the take your pick tool. That putty tip is fantastic for picking up these small pieces. All we're going to do now is build a very simple scene on the front of the card. So I'm going to move these up and out of the way so that I can bring the card base back in, and let's get that buckle attached. You'll recall this was the inside of the card with the slit. Again, this is the front of the card. There's that score line. This is going to get attached inside of here. So the easiest way, obviously, is to feed that right through that slit, and then we're going to pull it through. You want to make sure that all of this is going to close like this when we're finished. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm going to turn this to make it easy for my hand, and I'm adding some adhesive there to that tab. This adhesive is crazy strong, so I'm not worried that it won't hold in place. And I do want to take one more cursory look and make sure that I'm all the way up to the score line, and I want to make sure that this is relatively straight, and then we're going to press that in place. This eventually is going to get hidden, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But let's go back here to the front, and let's work on what's going to be the front of this focal point. I'm going to recommend that you close the buckle so you have an idea of placement. And because you know it's going to flop open, I take one of my clear blocks, and I just place it right on top of there to help hold things down, so I've got the use of my hands. I'm going to take one of those branches that I colored, and I'm going to lay out my pieces first. One of the biggest mistakes we make as card makers is that we get so darn excited about what we're doing that we often don't take the time to work out the placement. We just start sticking it down, and I'm there with you. So I just want to give you some tips about that. This next monkey is going to go up underneath here, and I'm going to work in some other pieces. But you can see that little tail is screaming to me that it needs to be hooked onto this branch. So I'm just going to come inside of here, and I am going to hook this on. These two monkeys are not part of this builder punch. The other image is. But I do want to talk to you about something. You can use colored cardstock to punch out these images, which makes actually punch art. And the only thing you have to stamp is the adorable face. How easy is that? And of course you can do the body that coordinates with that punch as well if you'd like. All right, now that I have an idea on placement, let's talk about adhering. I know that I want all of this a little bit lifted. I want that 3D look. So now that I've got my monkey up here on my branch, I'm going to use my silicone craft sheet. I'm going to turn this upside down. His tail is hooked on, but by no means is that good to go where it's at. So I'm going to bring in a mini dimensional here. And I'm going to use the other side of my take your pick tool to lift that off, and I am literally going to anchor the back end of that tail to that branch. Now these size dimensionals are fabulous for these little small areas, and you're going to see that I'm going to use them abundantly in areas that are very, very narrow. I'm also going to place them so that we have stability. The worst thing that can happen is you mail your card and it falls apart. But you're going to see here, when I try to add this, that this might show, right? I'm going to get a little brave, and I'm going to place it there anyways. But I'm going to talk to you about this area. Here on the mini dimensionals, and even on the full-size dimensionals, there's a border that goes across the outside that is not die cut with this shape. So I'm going to grab my sticky scissors. Those are the ones I keep ribbon on. And I'm going to cut a little bit of that border here, and I'm going to cut that off. And this is perfect for these little areas. So I'm going to remove that paper backing, and then we are going to place this right here. I also want to make sure that those little leaves are not going to lift. So I'm going to take those scissors once again, and right here on the paper, I'm going to cut that mini dimensional in half. Do it while it's on the paper. It's going to make your life so much easier, and that's going to allow me to kind of anchor down this section. Now the other areas here, I've reached for the larger dimensionals. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do one by this ear, one by this ear, and then one here. I am not worried about the other areas. In order to remove the backings to these dimensionals, you're going to want to make sure that you anchor down that paper because you don't want to rip it off. And I'm just using that take your pick tool with that paper piercing tool attachment to help me remove those. Now I have arthritic hands, so this is a lifesaver for me, so I don't have to do a whole lot of pinching, and maybe you're in the same boat. I will tell you that this is the best few dollars you're going to spend, and you're going to find this along with all the other products I'm using in my online store at lisastampstudio.com. What you're going to do now is you're going to take this, and you know what? I want to cut that little end off right there. I'm going to grab my good scissors for that. I want to make sure that it looks nice and colored and pretty. And then we are going to navigate this near the top of the card. I want to make sure that the leaves don't reach past the top of the card, so this is going to fit in a regular A2 medium size envelope. All right, now what we're going to do is work on the bottom half, and we're going to do a little bit, pretty much the same thing. Now, depending on exactly where you put the buckle, you may have to navigate your images. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this tail around this branch, and my intention is to put him here. But you might be looking, going, well, what are you going to do about that curve? Well, I'll give you an idea. So I'm going to go ahead and place that monkey here. And just like we've done before, I'm going to come back in with my take your pick tool. I'm going to grab that dimensional. I'm going to anchor down that tail, and I'm going to anchor down this branch, and of course the pieces that are inside this branch and monkey that I think that needs some stability. All right, this is all ready now, and this is going to go this way. So I want to keep a little bit hung off the end, and I want to make sure that monkey is going to fit here within that card base. And then we are going to tack that down. And you know, no two cards are the same. The one inside my project sheet is going to look slightly different to this one as far as the navigation is concerned. So you see that area here? Let's open that up and let's look from the back. This is going to be your guide. If you think there's any adhesive or glue there, I want you to use your sticky scissors. Pinch this so these layers are together, and you're going to use that top as the guide for the perimeter on the white. And that's going to give us that nice little finished edge here. Now remember, we have that adorable little banana. Okay, so this one right here, I just could not resist. So I'm going to flip this over as well. And I'm going to come back over to my mini dimensionals. And again, I know this might be too much fussy for you, but some of you are just squealing in delight. Remember, the whole object of me sharing with you is to give you as many opportunities to learn how to use a stamp set as possible. And I'm going to try another dimensional. That one didn't want to cooperate. And then I'll remove those backings. So you can make this a whole lot simpler. You can even die cut a smaller piece of designer series paper here and add it. So I'm going to tuck this up underneath here like our monkey is holding it. Now I did add a couple more bananas on my original ones, and these I did not even bother with using dimensionals. I wanted to make these a little bit shallower. So I'm going to come in with some liquid glue. Now the multi-purpose liquid glue sold in my online store is fantastic. It's very strong, it dries quickly, but that tip is just not small enough for little tiny things. So what I did is I actually poured it into a precision tip glue applicator, and this has been a game changer. I actually got this idea from a YouTube viewer. If you actually tuck this underneath here like so, it holds the cap in place so you don't have to flop it around. This is the same bottle I filled 2 years ago, and you can see how tiny those dots are going to come out. Not something you normally can do with a regular glue bottle. So I'm going to come back here again. I'm going to use this to my advantage to hold this down. And just like I told you, you want to position your pieces first so you have an idea on where you're going. So I'm going to go probably put one here, and I'll put another one there just to bring some continuity to the card and just a little bit of extra color. So I'm going to put that here, and then we're going to take that banana and we'll tuck that up underneath here. I think I'm going to go a little bit higher this time. There we go. And then I'm going to take the next one and we'll do the exact same thing. I actually like liquid glue now because of this little tool. That little precision bottle has really changed my opinion about glue. I tend to be very, very heavy-handed with glue, which is one reason why I've never liked it. Now, when you're done with it, you'll pinch the tip here and you'll cover it up with that silicone cap, store it straight up and down. I'm not quite done with it because we're going to work on the inside layer here of the pocket. Here is where you're going to add a layer perhaps of designer series paper or textured cardstock with an embossing folder. I'm using the beautiful designer series paper from the current in color groups, double-sided, which gives you lots of choices. Stampin' Up! Is great with double-sided designer series paper. And personally, I love that because it expounds your purchase. It's going to give you multiple patterns, which means you can use them throughout the year. I'm looking for that nice even border all the way around. And then we're going to add adhesive here to the back side as well. Like I said to you, this is very, very strong adhesive. Again, I don't do things straight, so I'm going to turn this horizontally to make it easier for my hand. And then this is going to go here. So I'm looking to leave a very narrow margin all the way around, and then we'll tack that in place. This now has to get sealed to make the pocket. So I'm going to come inside and I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive here and a little adhesive here. You want to work as closely to the edge as possible because that's going to seal it. If you don't use the Stampin' Seal Plus, I would recommend either liquid glue or tear-in tape. Make sure these edges are even, and then I want you to press and close them, and that's going to give you that pocket. Now, Stampin' Up! Cardstock quality is fantastic, so that means the cardstock is nice and firm. So if it's too tight for you, take your bone folder and loosen up that pocket just a little bit by turning it, and that's going to break down some of the fibers of your cardstock for you. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to add a little insert to this. Now, I did do this ahead of time, and this comes from the stamp set Charming Sentiments, which I'm really fond of. Let me show you. The reason I'm fond of it is because I actually designed it. When I earned my $1 million sales achievement with Stampin' Up!, as all demonstrators have the opportunity to do, you can design a stamp set. And I knew we needed greetings for all kinds of cards throughout the year. But the best part about it is this, is the Sentiment Silhouettes dies. Now, these are purchased separately. They don't come together any longer because this has been carried over from the last catalog. But I want to show you something. Gina and I designed an insert that goes inside of here. And guess what? You can print this off for free over on my website under Digital Downloads, which is under Shop. And that's going to tell you which die goes with which word because it's kind of like a puzzle without it, isn't it? So we absolutely love how this came out, and that's where I got those words. Chose not to die cut them because they're going to go inside my pocket. But you know what else is going to go in my pocket? This. I have a gift card because it's going to be a birthday card. But now let's talk about the closure. To me, that's the most important part, right? We need to be able to have something to close the card. And this is where I'm going to bring in a product that I've absolutely fallen in love with. I've been using these for a number of years. They are magnetic discs, and they're very, very small. You get 20 of them in a package. I have this linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. Now, you're going to see here that most of them are gone, but I have some pluses and negatives. So that means you're going to need one of each for the card. I'm going to remove that little bubble top here from the packaging, and I am going to take one of these, which is going to be my plus, and I'm carefully going to remove it, and you're going to see how it wants to stick to the next one, and put it in my hand. We are going to remove that paper here on the back, which is going to release a sticky side. Gotta love that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that right here to the inside back of my buckle. It's automatically going to stick. But that's going to have to get attached to something. There has to be some magnets here. And if you don't like to see the silver part, that's where our leaves are going to come in. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to take one of my negatives. And again, they're going to want to flop and stick to each other. And we are going to remove the paper backing on this one as well. And I'm going to pick this up. And this one now, what I want you to do is I want you to put the two magnet sides together. So this is the sticky side. All you'll have to do now is literally just close the buckle and it's going to perfectly align itself. I know you're thinking, Lisa, that's not the cover of the card. I know. Hang with me. To hide this, if you don't like it, you can go ahead and you can add your little images or dimensions right here. There's a little bit more of that liquid glue, so I'm going to put that here. And if you want that to look purposeful, this is where we're going to come in and we're going to add a few more. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of this. Like I said, it's very strong. And then we're going to add one here. And then let's do that last one because I colored it and we might as well use it because I think it's nice and cute. And we're going to add a little bit more glue to this one. And then this one can kind of overlap a little bit. All right, so we're going to go ahead and tack those in place. This will need about a minute to dry, but when you're all done, obviously your gift card can fit either way, which is what I love, and you can attach it with a glue dot. I'm going to pretend this is good and dry. When you close this, the contact from this magnet, did you hear that? Snaps to the inside of the other one. Listen. So even though there's a piece of cardstock there, the magnet and the strength of these is phenomenal. Now, isn't this absolutely adorable? So cute. All right, but I promised you other samples, so let me move all of this out of the way and let me bring those in for you. Now, this next one actually uses a brand new bundle called Cheerful Daisies. It has coordinating designer series paper that is stunning. So this is what I use for this current card that I'm going to share with you next, and that is this one. Now, you might be looking, well, where's the use of the dies? I couldn't cover up the beautiful paper. So I eliminated the curve on this, but I'd still added the buckle. But I want to show you something. The buckle is here at the bottom because I didn't want to hide the paper. So I moved it down and I made sure that I covered up the magnet here on the front of the card because there was plenty of room with another daisy that matched the designer series paper. Again, that coordination. Added some really simple, beautiful twine. There we go. We've got our little magnetic closure. And then here on the inside, I cut this pocket shorter. So the scoring dimensions for this are different than this one. So I'm going to give you variations in that project sheet. And then you can tuck your note inside. And of course, still a gift card if you'd like. And then I have one more for you. And this one is actually going to use a combination of products. It's going to use the Petal Park stamp set, which has a coordinating punch called the Petal Park Builder Punch. They are sold separately because they've been carried over. It's no longer a bundle. I also use the Around the Bend stamp set for the greeting. And I also use the Around the Bend dies, again, sold separately. I want to call your attention to this die. It's going to do something very similar that this one did. Now look, I'm going to open up the buckle so that you can see it. Look at that decorative edge. Isn't that beautiful? All made with die cuts for this pocket card with the buckle. And again, I use the punch to punch out those flowers. Very, very, very simple. Simple muted background that I stamped with the stamps from that stamp set. And then opens up and again, pocket. In your project sheet, you're going to notice that I tweaked the scoring dimensions for this one to provide allocation for this detailed die. Otherwise, it would not fit in your envelope. So make sure you go pick up your project sheet over on my website. You'll find that link below. As always, I love to know which one is your favorite. Do me a favor and pop that comment in right now. I would love to know. Your feedback is always so important as I design. Before we go, I want to remind you about Stamp Studio memberships. Oh my gosh. Amazing. I only have level 1 featured right here on the screen, but there's also a level 2. You're going to want to check those out on my website, lisastampstudio.com, and click on memberships in the red menu bar. Guess what? Level 1 is $5 a month, and you're going to get a tutorial project designed by me every Monday in your inbox. It's an awful lot of fun. You have free reign of what you do with those photos and the tutorial, which means you can case them, copy, share them, distribute them. The only thing you can't do is sell them, and it doesn't matter what country you're in. we would love to have you subscribe and join us for Stamp Studio memberships. All right, before we go, I want to make sure you know about the next date. I want you to join me next Monday. That is May 22nd. Looking at my calendar once again, the month is flying by. I hope you'll mark 8 p.m. Eastern Time on your calendar so that you can be here with us and all the other card makers here in the chat. We would absolutely love to have you. Head over to my website, scroll to the bottom, and click on the word subscribe there as well, because I'll send you a free tutorial every Thursday in a no-frills email that you can use for more inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And Grace, thanks for all your hard work moderating tonight. I look forward to seeing you all next week. I hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.